Give a little background on the Silver Dollar City process for creating a new attraction. How much of that is corporate versus how much of that is the park itself?
About 3 to 5 years ago, we started looking at 2013 as a great year to invest for Silver Dollar City. And so as we went through that process, we had several components that we tested, several different additions that we would test. And the wood coaster concept obviously out-tested anything else that we were considering. So then as part of the process, we then went to coaster manufacturers and asked them to help us create a coaster that would cause families from Dallas to Chicago to want to drive to Branson, Missouri to visit in Silver Dollar City and experience a new ride. And Rocky Mountain Coaster came up with the concept that's before us today. And because of those world-class attributes of Outlaw Run, we selected that concept, selected that manufacturer, and then our folks then started working with Rocky Mountain to look at how you build something so unique, something pretty complicated into the terrain of the Ozark Mountains. Unlike a lot of different sections of the country where you have soil and you have all kinds of flat land, in the Ozarks we don't have flat land and we don't have a lot of soil. You get much past 1/4 of an inch and you hit solid rock. So building a wood coaster in this difficult terrain became a pretty significant challenge, not only for Rocky Mountain but obviously for our folks who've built a lot of things right here at Silver Dollar City.
What goes into the selection of the theme, the name for the ride? Who takes care of all that aspect of it?
We have, at Hershon Family Entertainment, we have a consortium of individuals, including our design and development studio, our corporate design studio, as well as our marketing folks here at Silver Dollar City, and then our own operators. And we look at all of those kinds of factors. We considered several different names, but we knew that Outlaw Run just kind of felt good to us. We also knew that a wood coaster would fit real nicely into a theme of a Western stagecoach type of storyline. So we created the storyline, which basically is that the Stagecoach Depot is out on the outskirts of Silver Dollar City. And from that Stagecoach Depot, every day, stagecoaches depart heading westward. It could be families going out to visit a family member that's already gone west, or it may be an entire family packing up all of their worldly possessions and then actually moving to Utah or Colorado or California. And so as those stagecoaches were departing, these outlaws started emerging and taking some of those possessions. But the good citizens of Silver Dollar City, they banded together. They got all kinds of lawmen and women from around the country to come in and help them get control of these hills. And they hired really fast stagecoach drivers that would take those stagecoaches out of Silver Dollar City really fast. That's the storyline of the speed of Outlaw Run. So from the name to the theme to the storyline, we created this whole land, really, of a Western stagecoach depot.
Excellent. Do you have any specific stories about maybe that kind of eureka moment where you realized, hey, we really can build this, or we can overcome this design challenge that we're facing?
You know, our folks, our design development folks, as well as our construction team, are very entrepreneurial. And there's not a lot of things that we build here that are easily built because of the terrain, because of the rock. So we knew when we started building a coaster with so many footers, so many pieces of wood, so much labor, we knew that it would be complicated, but we knew that at the end we would end up with a world-class ride. And so even though it was difficult, even though it was challenging, and even though our construction crews dealt with 100+ degree weather all of last summer, we knew that we would end up with a world-class coaster. So that made it all worthwhile, and I think kept causing folks to keep on persevering even when they hit some snags.
I'll wait for that to pass for a second. A classic wooden coaster lift sound, love it. Can you talk at all to some of the layout challenges? Like I believe it was Fred talking about how to get back up to the station, there had to be that excitement level maintained, and that's where the double barrel roll element came in. Were there any other specific design challenges where you were facing, I don't know, specific terrain where that led to the creation of one of the elements, anything like that?
You know, really, Rocky Mountain Coaster came up with the overall design, the elements of the actual ride, and then working with our construction folks, then they figured out how to place those elements in the exact terrain throughout the layout of the ride. But Rocky Mountain came up with the concepts, and that's what sold us on Rocky Mountain Coaster. The fact that they were able to deliver in the past some pretty amazing rides like Texas Giant, currently working on the Iron Rattler at Fiesta, Texas, and the fact that they had that experience in working on and creating world-class types of rides gave us the confidence in them, and then they needed to work with our crews to then make sure that those elements would fit into the actual terrain of the ride.
How was Outlaw Run a turning point for the world of roller coasters?
You know, wood coasters have been around for a really long time. There are several challenging points for a wood coaster. First of all, coaster enthusiasts love wood coasters, the story, the heritage, and all of those great components about a wood coaster. Our parks have always loved wood coasters, and overall, it's been the wood coaster industry has been significant for the theme park industry for decades. Outlaw Run takes wood coasters to a whole other playing field in the fact of not only what the coaster can deliver from a feature standpoint, because this allows a wood coaster to do types of things that wood coasters just have not been able to do in the past, but also going forth, we believe that we have all kinds of opportunities to keep a consistently smooth ride as we move forward, and also we believe that the maintenance of this wood coaster would be different than other wood coasters that have been constructed in the past. So we're excited for what it does for today's experience, but we're also equally excited about how we can continue a consistent guest experience in the years to come.
You mentioned that the maintenance on this wooden coaster would be different than other wooden coasters. Could you elaborate a little on that point?
What Rocky Mountain Coaster came up with regard to the technology that allowed Outlaw Run to do all of the things that Outlaw Run does, basically they took the layers of wood that are typical for any wood coaster, and then on top of those layers of wood that are pressed together, then there's always a track on the top of a wood coaster. But what Rocky Mountain did is they basically put a thick track on top of those layers of wood, and then that track is actually fabricated, bent to do the things that it's meant to do, and therefore that allowed this coaster to do all of the things that it does. But also because of the thickness of that track, then as we move on into the future, then we'll have less maintenance on this type of a track than we would on a normal wood coaster track.
Awesome. How is this attraction a turning point for the park specifically?
Silver Dollar City has several thrilling rides. We've got Wildfire, which is a 5-inversion ride from B&M that was opened in 2001. We've got an S&S launch coaster, 0 to 60 in just under 3 seconds. So we're known for some thrilling rides. We also have lots of family rides that families enjoy together. But you add all of those rides together, and then you add the unique features of Outlaw Run, and it just makes Silver Dollar City even more attractive to families that are looking for a family destination in the middle of the nation. You know, what I also find fun and interesting and excites not only Silver Dollar City but all of Branson, Missouri, is that for the first time ever, Southwest Airlines is now flying right into Branson Airport daily, nonstops to and from Dallas, Chicago, and Houston. And I think that timing of the opening of Outlaw Run, all of the great features of Silver Dollar City already, all the family attractions here in Branson, with now brand new Southwest flights in and out of Branson, Missouri, I think it just helps us get even more involved with families, and we become much more attractive to families all over the country.
And in contrast to that question, how does Outlaw Run carry on certain traditions that Silver Dollar City already has, as in I don't know, theme, type of attraction, terrain, etc.?
Make sure you check.
We are a theme park all centered into the 1880s. And this town that was on top of Marvel Cave, which really was a mine back in the 1880s, that's a big deal to us. And we've always been centered around a theme of the 1880s. As we have built rides and attractions, and we open festivals and we open shows year after year, season after season, we always look at how we can take the theme of Silver Dollar City and make it applicable to that particular ride or attraction. Outlaw Run is such a natural for us. This whole Stagecoach Depot, the wood coaster, the feeling of, the good lawman coming in to conquer the outlaws, that's all very natural and sweet for Silver Dollar City, and becomes very much a natural part of who we are and a natural extension of who we are. In addition to all of the visual theming, there's this kind of subtle thing that you'll also notice as you watch Silver Dollar City and Outlaw Run. We have a statement that we're boldly saying, the good guys always win at Silver Dollar City. The villain is not the hero on this ride. Much the opposite, the lawman is the hero on this ride. The good guys win, and that's a part of who we are as a culture. That's a part of who we want to be, and we want kids that visit Silver Dollar City to aspire to be the good guy. We don't want them to aspire to be the villain. We don't want them to aspire to do the bad things in life. We want them to aspire to be heroes in their communities and to be the very best that they can be. So that may be a little subtle message, but it's also who we are as a company. It's who we are at Silver Dollar City. That's not new. That's where we've been since we opened May 1st, 1960.
And what kind of risk does a park like this and HFE as a whole have to take on to be willing to invest $10 million into one single attraction, just having to trust that that's going to make a return? If you could just speak to how high the stakes are for a ride like this.
Well, a $10.5 million investment for any company is significant. We don't take our investments lightly. So when we make the decision to invest a $10.5 million at Silver Dollar City, we need to make sure that it's the right product. We need to make sure that it's something that the consumer really wants. We need to make sure that it's something that would cause visitors to want to visit this place, this park. So we do all kinds of market research. We do all kinds of customer testing to ensure two things. First of all, that the actual attraction will drive visitors and be something that would be attractive to visitors. But then secondly, that we can market. There's enough of a marketing message that can actually sell the ride to potential visitors. So we've gone through all of that process and ensuring that the actual features of Outlaw Run were attractive, and that we could easily say what this ride will do for potential visitors. And when you put all that together, then we're able to say, okay, we believe, based upon the product, based upon the marketing message, that we can drive 85,000 incremental visitors to Silver Dollar City for 2013. I think 85,000 is very realistic. I'm always hopeful to do a little more than 85,000, but at this point, we believe that hitting that 85,000 attendance hurdle will get us a great return on our investment, and not only help Silver Dollar City, but again, drive home the fact that Branson is a great place for families to visit.
How will you know that this ride has been a true success?
We do several things. First of all, we have obviously our financial parameters, so we'll know, are we getting our 85,000 folks? And that's a big deal. Obviously, we've got to hit the financials, but we also test our customers and with regard to their overall experience, and we ask them, how was your overall experience? And we'll watch our customer scores not only for this ride, but also their perception on all that they do while they're at the park, and then we'll look at how we compare in 2013 versus how we compared in 2012 versus how we compared in 2010, and we'll look at that trend line to see how the guest experience was while they were visiting us for that particular day. Based upon our financials, based upon our attendance, based upon our customer scores, then we start understanding, was this ride successful or was it not?
What was your first experience like on this ride? I'm not sure when you rode it for the first time, but if you could just describe what was going through your head and what it was like. I rode the ride when it basically was
first going around. The ride had gone through just a few times when I first rode the ride. And so going through the double barrel roll, the first time that I rode it, it wasn't quite to speed. And that was quite fun and quite exhilarating because, it's fun when it's at a high speed. When it was at the low speed, like we were seeing at in those very early testing stages, there was a lot of thrill, like just basically anxious to get through the double barrel roll. But now that it's up to full speed, and since those very early days, it's full of thrill, full of fun. And I think if I were to describe this ride to someone, I would just use two words: family fun. That's what we are, that's what we hope to experience. So it's enough of exhilaration and adrenaline that mom and dad and the kids are gonna have a blast, but also not so much so that it terrifies folks to where they don't wanna ride. And we want families to experience fun together. That's what we want to do.
I think Brian has a couple questions for you.
You've touched on so much about it all. I think what's so fascinating is the detail that you guys put into this. I guess I'm more interested in, you said you test the families, and do you look for specific reviews from the attraction and what they noticed, what they liked? Is it a questionnaire, or do you have people kind of waiting like, hey, what'd you think, or do you just have your employees listening?
No, we actually have a formalized structure where we actually test concepts for shows, for rides, for different festivals, different things that we will do. And we have a very formalized system in place to test. And then we'll ask the visitors that love Silver Dollar City, but then also folks that may not have visited Silver Dollar City. Would this cause you to want to visit this park if we did these particular things? So the process is very structured. The scoring is very structured, and we take all of that, and then we then compare the scores for a concept versus scores for other concepts.
Mentioning the theming, how do you put that into, I guess, the ride crew and the area? You guys do the aesthetics, you set up the story. How do you have your employees portray that? And, getting the excitement, because a ride crew can really bring the atmosphere home. And do you really emphasize that to them, I guess, when, training or, when opening?
Everything we do is, first of all, centered around the guest that visits. We know that a guest works really hard for their money, and we know that a family has very little time that they can spend together when they're on a trip. So we take all the things that we do and we base them upon the fact that money and time are invaluable to that family. So we want to ensure that the folks that we hire are friendly and that they're going to love on our guests. And then based upon that, then we'll also teach them different things. Like on this ride, it's very much of a Western theme. So the individuals that are here, they're in the Western costuming that's been pre-approved, and everything that they wear is all about that costuming. We'll talk to them about how they greet, and when the train gets ready to pull out of the station, you'll hear a little giddy up going on. And that's part of the overall experience. But it really goes back to ensuring that when you take not just Outlaw Run, but Outlaw Run with all the other pieces and parts of this overall experience, just adds to a day that family will remember for the rest of their lives.
When placing, I know this is my first visit to Silver Dollar City, but I've noticed talk that this is a whole new area, correct? Do you guys look at what the best land is for that with your construction crew, or do you try and keep the flow of the park in different areas, I guess?
We have a lot of land. We're blessed that we have owners that have looked into the future, and we've got a lot of land surrounding Silver Dollar City to which we have access. The challenge of operating a park in the Ozark Mountains is that it is not flat land. So therefore we look at basically every acre that surrounds Silver Dollar City, and we look at what we can build within the park. And we look at, there are certain places that are a little more or a little less hilly than other places. And in those spaces, then those certain rides, certain attractions would be better and more natural fit than other types of things. But we absolutely, we take every acre and we try to plan what kind of attraction, what kind of theater, what kind of experience would be best served in that particular corner of the park.
And I guess outside of the park, it's once you're here, you can tell, you can see the grandness of it and all that. How I don't know if you're directly responsible, but getting that message out. The reveal for the double barrel, everything has been top notch. You know, it stopped the coaster world. Everyone's jaws dropped. How do you get that message out to everybody? And so far, I've seen it done very well. But talk about that whole process.
You know, in today's world, there's a whole complicated method and system of getting a word and a message out. There's the old media, which, you know, is traditional media that would include newspapers and would include just traditional news sources. But then there's this whole other world of online, and there's social media, and it's interesting and exciting to watch how folks of all ages are using all those different sources of media. We have young folks that are reading newspaper, but we also have more mature visitors that are doing everything online, and vice versa. And so when you take all of those media sources and we start really ensuring that we're communicating via all of those channels, then we've been able to get the word out in a way that is kind of fun and exciting, where we have coaster clubs, like a coaster club in Great Britain that actually is very excited for their first visit to Silver Dollar City because they saw online information about Outlaw Run, and that caused them to say there will be no pond in 2013 that will separate us from Branson, Missouri and Silver Dollar City.
Well, I think you've covered everything, so thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for visiting us.
To add that we didn't cover, or did we?
You know, at some point, and you may cover this already, but just at some point, just the significant fact that we are open all the way through December the 30th, and as long as temperatures are 37 degrees and above, this ride will be a great part of the guest ride, even on into our Christmas festival, which goes all the way through December the 30th.